And I tell you, you got to give it to Saul Canelo Alvarez because he is persistent. 44-1-1 with 31 KOs. Has been wanting to fight on May the 2nd. He said he is not budging from May the 2nd. Oscar De La Hoya, his promoter, Golden Word Promotions, will only budge and will get Canelo to budge from May the 2nd if Mayweather versus Pacquiao happens. Well, guess what? It looks like Saul Canelo Alvarez got his wish. He will be fighting, or may be fighting, on May the 2nd, 2015 against James Kirkland. Now, the opponent is official. James Kirkland has signed. Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo met just yesterday, January the 22nd, 2015. Right now, it's 10 p.m. exactly Eastern Standard Time, January the 23rd, 2015. I am T Street Controversy Live with RealCombatMedia.com, and I cover every single major fight live. News, predictions, post-fight results, weigh-ins, whatever related to boxing. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook. All my social media is right down in the description box. So click the little arrow, open up the whole description box. You'll see the website at the top, Real Combat Media. You'll see my like page, and then all the way at the bottom, you'll see my Twitter and my Facebook. So what I want to say is this. James Kirkland hasn't fought since December of 2013. By the time he steps into the ring with Saul Canelo Alvarez, if it's on May the 2nd. Now, that date will only move if Mayweather fights Pacquiao. The arena is supposed to be the Alamo Dome. The channel is supposed to be HBO. So, James Kirkland, when he steps into the ring, if it's May the 2nd, if it's not May the 2nd, it's even worse. It'll be a 17-month layoff. Now, it's going to be a good fight. James Kirkland, 32-1. Remember, he lost that fight to Nobuhiro Ishida. And then almost lost to Alfredo Angulo, but we saw what Canelo did to Angulo, and I believe James Kirkland can beat him now. James Kirkland will be with Ann Wolfe. James Kirkland is in a situation where it's like, listen, it's now or never at this point in time with him. He's pretty much had somewhat of a bullshit career, and I say bullshit. Why? It's because he hasn't lived up to his potential, whether it's about the black pills or him being the head case or him not being fully focused 100% on the sport of boxing. He's been somewhat of a disappointment. So the fact that he's able to get a big fight like this with Canelo, he should be happy, and I hope that it comes to fruition, even if it's not in May, even if it's in June. I just hope it happens. Why? It's because James Kirkland has been known to, have issues leading into fights, or issues involving, or issues that made certain fights not happen. So, looking at the situation that Canelo's in, Canelo just wants to be his own man. Canelo is not on Showtime anymore, partly because he didn't want to compete with Floyd Mayweather for dates. He didn't want to be second fiddle. Whereas in HBO, realistically, he's second fiddle to Manny Pacquiao, but still, he doesn't have to fight for the dates that he wants to fight for. Fight on. So, looking at the landscape, well, everyone's waiting to see what Floyd Mayweather's going to do. Everyone's waiting to see what Miguel Cotto's going to do. I honestly do not believe that Miguel Cotto ducked Saul Canelo Alvarez because he doesn't want to fight him. I just think that Miguel Cotto looks down on Saul Canelo Alvarez as being beneath him. And also, once again, I said it in many other videos, Saul Canelo Alvarez is Mexican. Miguel Cotto is Puerto Rican. Miguel Cotto is A-side, despite what you think about pay-per-view buys, whether it's with Erislandy or Alfredo Angulo. In Miguel Cotto's mind, because he has that belt, and also because he's Miguel Cotto and a veteran, he is A-side. So Miguel Cotto is the type of guy that people say he's a diva, whatever the case may be. Miguel Cotto is the type of guy that he doesn't like when a guy like Saul Canelo Alvarez is telling Cotto when he's going to fight. So looking at that and following the sport of boxing the way I have, I genuinely don't feel that Cotto is ducking Canelo. Cotto just wants to fight Canelo on his own terms. And also look at the fact that, well, Manny Pacquiao usually fights in April. So if Manny Pacquiao's not fighting Floyd Mayweather in May, then Freddie Roach trains both Miguel Cotto and Manny Pacquiao. None of it makes sense. So once again, I don't necessarily feel or believe that Canelo is going to be taking on James Kirkland on May the 2nd, but I know that Canelo is going to be taking on James Kirkland. The date is not official yet. Now, Saul Canelo Alvarez knows it's not official yet. James Kirkland knows it's not official yet, but all they know is that they're fighting each other. Now, Showtime is the one where it's going to be broadcasting the HBO pay-per-view. If Mayweather decides to fight someone like Miguel Cotto and then Canelo on the same day against a James Kirkland, then, you know, HBO would be able to air that fight and how can I put, and build a profit off of it. To whereas if you got Canelo Alvarez versus James Kirkland and then Mayweather versus Pacquiao on that same night, come on. It's not happening on the same day, ladies and gentlemen. It's not happening on the same day. Now, let's be honest with you. Who would win? I got to go with Canelo. But at the same time, him and James Kirkland have a pretty similar fight style. The only thing is, the reason why I give Canelo the edge is because the head case factor of James Kirkland. James Kirkland just doesn't be there sometimes. You know, and then with the layoff, it's like, okay, all right. He had to fight with Glenn Tapia, in which he was losing in the beginning. Remember, he was losing. Glenn Tapia gassed out, and then guess what he did? James Kirkland beat the dog shit out of him. Simple as that. But him, if he gets into the ring with Canelo, 17, 18, 19-month layoff, I'm going to be thinking to myself like, yo, you know, I mean, how can I really go with you? Now, he's got to be, now listen, Ann Wolfe, female, one of the toughest trainers in the business. Listen, if this is the biggest fight of your career, James Kirkland, you got to go, as Jay-Z would say, ham. You know, like if Ann Wolfe is bitching at you and cursing you the fuck out all day, you know, and calling you all kinds of names and everything, like, yo, train. You know, like, I'm talking that I'm not saying overtrain, obviously, but he's really got to listen to the tutelage and, you know, not be on the bullshit, because fans are honestly getting sick and tired of James Kirkland, realistically, because it's like, yo, you're not fighting, you know? And then when a fight does come along, you're on some bullshit. Now, honestly, I can honestly say that now that this Canelo deal has happened, that it could be somewhat forgiven that he didn't fight Gabriel Rosado. Because remember, that was the fight that he was supposed to fight. And also, people have been saying that 50 Cent hasn't been getting his fighters good fights. Well, look, 50 Cent has got him a fight with Canelo. And remember, at one point in time, 50 Cent and Golden Boy Promotions was on bad terms at one point in time. Because remember, when Floyd Mayweather was with 50 Cent, and then 50 Cent was trying to pry Floyd Mayweather away from Golden Boy and now Heyman. And, you know, he had gotten into a little bit of a Twitter beef with Golden Boy, telling Golden Boy that, the Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya, that he would never promote another Floyd Mayweather fight. Remember that. You got to go back. Remember that. And then Oscar De La Hoya pretty much was like, okay, yeah, right. And then 50 Cent was no longer Mayweather's friend no more later on, you know, about 6-7 months later. I'm not saying De La Hoya had something to do with that, but there was a lot of factors involved. But anyway, on T Street Controversy, this is T Street Controversy Live, looking at the track record of Canelo, looking at Jose Zito Lopez, looking at Austin Trout, looking at his loss to Floyd Mayweather, looking at Alfredo Angulo, and then looking at Erislandy Lara. The resume is adding up to be a good one, then add James Kirkland, but you have to ask yourself, well, wait a minute, what's up with this what's up with this super junior welter middle? I don't know. What do you call that division? I guess you call it the middle junior middleweight division, 155 pounds. Because it seems as though when it comes to that 1 pound, he can't get that 1 pound off. And I you know why? The reason why I think there's a problem with it is because when it came to the Alfredo Angulo fight, it was supposed to be a 154 pound fight. But then what happens was, during the weigh-in, they tried to trick us and say, okay, this is going to be a 155-pound fight. But then we find out later on in the media that day, and the day later, that Canelo paid Angulo an extra amount of money because he couldn't drop that extra pound. So to avoid the embarrassment of him getting on the scale and not making that weight, you know, then they said, okay, well, let's pay him off, you know, instead of having him go up there and look like a fool. Same thing when he fought Erislandy Lara. You had fans, you know, and the people at the event. Once Canelo stepped on the scale, what did you see? Everybody's looking over at the numbers like, oh, is he going to make it? And he made that 155. But I think if it comes for that 154, he will only make that 154 for a big fight. And 154, I believe he will fight Miguel Cotto as, because Freddie Roach will try to use that against Canelo and also allow Cotto to keep his belt. But knowing Canelo can't make that 154. You know, you see? So that's usually how it works. I'm not going to be here for 10 minutes. So I'm going to say I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Please subscribe.